Yeah, and welcome to Papastache 102. So today we're going to concentrate on major pentatonic. And for most of us, it's one of those things where we just realize we've learned 1,000 minor pentatonic riffs and almost none of them work over a major progression. But do not be dismayed, because we're going to show you very basic introduction on how to solo in major pentatonic, and then, mix the two together. Now, if you're new to the channel, make sure you always check the description box below. There's always going to be a free link to a video that is not on YouTube. Today is melodic blues soloing. It'll show you chord shapes within the scale shapes, so you know how to solo melodically and how to hit those cool sounding notes. So check that one down below. Now, as for this, we're going to keep it really basic. I'm going to show you where to see the chords, in this case E major chords, on the neck, so you know how to apply the major pentatonic, and then hopefully that will make it all start to make sense. So let's zoom in for a closer look and learn a couple licks. Alright, so check this out. Major pentatonic. It's an esoteric pentatonic mystery. And why won't our minor riffs work in major pentatonic? Because they won't. Now, I know, I wish I could say something else, but it doesn't. And what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to tweak our riffs so that it will. And to help us understand that, if this is your first endeavor with major pentatonic, let's figure out how to find it first. Now, if you're up on the low E string and you find the key center, so say we want to play an E major, go to where the E note is and drop down 3 frets. Okay, now this note right here is going to be the first note in your first position pentatonic scale. Okay, so what we want to learn how to do is figure out why our minor pentatonic runs, why those won't work when we're here for our major pentatonic. Doesn't sound too good. Now the reason lies in because of the chord tones and where we resolve. So if we're here and we're playing an E minor, the reason this riff right here would work is you're playing the chord tones in the E minor chord. So for instance, we went pull off, that's the minor third, which is the note that makes the chord minor, and then we're resolving to our root. Now if we did that same riff here, what happens is we're not resolving to one of the dominant chord tones, and what I mean by the word dominant is one of the really like root third or fifth, one of the ones that really says yes, we're in an E major chord. Now we did this, if we just would have stopped right there, we would have been good, because that's the E note. Now instead of going here, we can hit that note, but let's use it on the way back to our E right here. So we could go hit another chord tone, the fifth of the E chord, E major chord, and now we get that Skinnerdian, dare I say, Allman Brothers sort of sound, that happy country kind of sound. And the reason that is because now we're highlighting the notes of our major chord. Now, using the minor framework, we could use and manipulate that scale by using a note that's not in the minor pentatonic scale, but it's really close. Go back to this third. And if we resolve to the root, then we could technically do that, and that would work in a major context, a major chord progression, because now we're outlining, by doing this, the E major major chord and we're resolving to the E note just like we did here. And there's our E chord. Okay? So it's learning how to find the chord shapes, the E in this instance, so we know which notes to target. And that's where all the magic is. Now, how you mix up the notes to get to the target notes, I mean, that's what separates, you know, Dwayne Allman and Eddie Van Halen and all these incredible players. Their use of combining notes in addition to hitting those right notes at the right time that makes them great. So that can be a lifelong pursuit. But as long as we're starting to see that, yes, we need to hit those chord tones, then we'll understand, oh, okay, if I'm hitting these as the chords are going by, at least I'm learning how to be melodic. Okay, I may not have the greatest phrasing, but it's going to sound like I know what I'm doing because I'm hitting the chord tones as the progression's going by. Or leading us into the next chord because you know how to target a note of the next chord coming up, so it leads the listener somewhere. So, that being said, we can take parts of this E chord, which is in reality position 2 of major pentatonic. Remember our position 1's right here. And we can take this E chord, which is the other way I find where my major pentatonics are, is I look for the major chord or the E major chord on the A string down, and I know it's right behind this chord. So this finger is actually the first notes of that major pentatonic scale, position 1. And it's also where all the target notes of our chords lie. So, right, over E. Magic, right? Not that hard. Okay, so let's give us a couple practical riffs. So we can do this. And what we've done is we've just really targeted the chord shapes rather than just playing a scale. Now we've really, by doing that, we're targeting the bottom of this E chord. Okay, we're going hammering on the 12th fret, B to the 14th fret, while letting this E note ring. So we're really saying we're still in E, going back to our chord shape, and then we're going to actually hit the 3rd to slide down to our root when we pull off. So we slid from the 13th fret of the G, 11th fret, pull off to the 9th fret, which is our root note. Okay, so if we just went... Now what we can do is we're in position 1, so let's do a riff here. So now we're going to approach doing the riff a little bit differently. I'm going to start here, which is the 5th of this E chord. Okay, so I went 9 to 11 on the D, hit our root note, E right there. Now watch this, when I bend this note right here, G string 11th fret, and I bend it up a whole step, it's actually now the 3rd of this E chord, the note that makes the chord major or minor. So it's a major 3rd. And when I go grab this note, now I'm grabbing notes of the E chord down here. So in reality, I'm really doing this, but I'm bending to that 3rd. Back to our root. Okay, so that's really how it all starts to happen, right? Now we're really starting to sense that, oh yes, these notes of these chords are really the most important thing. The scale, the shape of the scale is a guidepost, but the most important thing about that scale is where those chord tones lie within it. That's why you hear it, you slide up. Right there is just another cool one. So you're just hammering on from 12 to 14 on the B string, and then catching the E note here. And then coming back to it. Okay? Now, one other thing I'm going to leave you is what happens when you combine the major and the minor together, and I'll keep it simple, especially if this is your introduction, but this is where like the field of diamonds is. It's just nonstop, like, oh my gosh, riff, 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 riff. Oh, this is amazing. Check this out. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take position 1 of major and position 4. So, right, position 1 of major pentatonic and position 4 of minor. Right? And I'll stop there because I'm not going to use any other part of it. So what I'm going to do is, and then maybe bend that up. Okay, so all I've done, or let's take it the other way because it'll be simpler. All I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the notes from the 9th fret to the 12th fret. And what that's going to do is it's going to hit my major third. It's going to hit a note that's in the E major scale, or this 4th position, minor. Okay, and then I'm going to hit another chord tone right there of the E major or E minor. Okay, it's a shared note. I'm going to drop down to this minor note, but immediately hammer back to major. Okay, so we got. Now I'm going to walk down in position 4 of minor. Okay, so I went 9, pull off to 7, but then jump right back into major pentatonic. So I slid 5th, up, root, root. Okay, so we got. You can do something like that, any combination. Right, but it's just borrowing really quickly. First, we have to learn how to recognize the sound of the progression. Is it more happy or is it more sad, right? If it's more happy, then we cater our major riffs with a little bit of minor influence in there. If it's the other way around, right, then we do more minor with a little major in there. So it's like a bar, right? You got happy people here, really angry, bitter people over here, and in the middle they mix and mingle, and sometimes they brawl and you get tough riffs. Or sometimes they brawl and they come back to the happy place, okay? Which would be, forget where happy was, maybe over here. And then you get all sorts of cool riffs. And if the chord progression doesn't really sound one way or the other, you get something like. Get all the and then it's just like this smorgasbord of awesomeness. It's the only way I can describe it, because it's just so fun, and you want to play for like 12 hours, and your neighbors will want to kill you, but you'll be having fun when they do. And that's what we like doing around here, is having fun. So we're going to stick with working with major, but I'm always going to throw a little minor pizzazz in there, so you start to see and get familiar with how to work a major scale, right, and really understand why and how to manipulate your riffs so they're now catered to that major shape, and then how to interject some minor in there to, sound tough. Sometimes the happy guy, you got to know that if you mess with the happy guy, he can kick your butt because he's so happy, he's got the power. But he's happy. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to prove himself. It's just there if he needs it. So we're going to work from that principle, which who knows what that just meant, right? Point is, we're going to have fun. So let's do that. Yes! Way to go. Now, don't forget the link below if you're new, or, if you've been here a while and have never checked it out. I promise I do it for a reason down there, so that there's cool lessons that are long and hopefully explain things. And sometimes you don't get quite the ramble that I do here. Now, also, if you want to support the cause, which I would be super stoked, down below, also in that area, are links to papastache.com, where there's tons of DVDs and all that kind of stuff. So if you want me to teach you how to play guitar, then check out down there. Each of the DVDs has over 3 hours of instructions, jam tracks, all sorts of stuff. So check those out as well. And then over there, if you want to get into a pop 40 band, 500 songs, Papastache Pop. Over there, not only country, pop, all that stuff. So if you combine these two channels, you will be in any bar band you've ever wanted to be in. Or, for that matter, maybe you are the next, guitar player sideman for American Idol, or who knows, right? I'm just saying it could happen. You guys are awesome. Keep it happy, keep it positive, keep it light. You're amazing. Thank you for the support. Catch you next time.